Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create it every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcast. Download this immediately following the live stream on all major podcasting apps, or go to roguewavepodcast.com. That's wave without an E, to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Join the movement. Go rogue, roguematter.com. We've got an amazing show today, a jam-packed show. I am your host, Michael Dolce. As always, joined by the Lord of the Radio, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
So I wonder I'm still awake.
You know, but I this is again, I'm trying to do like you know how they have those signs in the office that say like this many days since, you know, whatever. It's been this many days. It's been exactly 3 weeks since I have not tried to rename you. I gave you your moniker.
Well, since we fell out of the habit of doing that to people about 100 years ago, you know.
No,
Yeah.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
No.
It is literally making me inside.
I'll get you a sign. I'm gonna get you a little
sign.
sign. You could put it on your computer so you could
like
read
that.
it every time you address me, and then that'll be fine, right? That'll help
right.
you.
I like
Okay, good.
Done and done.
We got that settled.
I mentioned Jam Pack Show. We're going to welcome Jiba Anderson a little later. He's got a Kickstarter going on through Rogue Matter. So it's our Rogue Spotlight for The Court, The Ballad of Finch, an illustrated novel that he did, but he's also of years and years of great comic book fame as well, too. And I want to welcome our current guest who is going to be talking about all kinds of cool things. Miss Victoria Rau, how you doing?
I'm doing peachy.
I love it.
How are you?
I love the fire. That's how you make the entrance. Victoria is.
You had a very loud entrance, so I'm just trying to like bring the level down.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to match that enthusiasm. When you,
That's
always going to be an enthusiasm gap.
I have a feeling this is going to go so wrong for me today. Victoria is a super talented, super awesome screenwriter and comic book writer. We connected first through Zenescope when we did some work together through there, and hopefully be doing some stuff through Rogue Matter coming up. And want to welcome you to the show.
Thanks.
You had the deepest question for me that we had to bring out. And I've been teasing it very subtly because there's no way I'm repeating the question. WandaVision. What's up with Vision?
I mean, you've really teed that up for me. I appreciate it. And the hard part is
wow.
is that I said this to you as like if I was to come on your show, the level of discourse I would bring to the table would be, does Vision have a penis? That's the questions that I am left with.
Thereby elevating our discussions. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like, it's actually a deep question, and we're going to get into that final scene in just a second. But let's talk about this. They have twins. How? That was always a question in the comics too.
Yeah. Can we do comic? Is this like a comic spoiler type situation? Can we say those things?
I think we've talked about it enough and quite well. Here, how we go? Spoilers. You haven't read the comics.
People are spoiling it all over the place. So,
yeah.
Because the comic books came out like years ago. So it doesn't matter.
We live in a society where the internet exists.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, we know where in the comics, we know where Wanda's kids come from, right? I mean, and we know where they come from in like several different degrees of where they came from. When they get like reabsorbed into somebody's arms, which is I'm desperate for that not to happen in this.
Let me ask you a question. Maybe you know this because I actually don't. I read Young Avengers, but I didn't realize Wiccan and Speed are the twins.
Yes.
But how did they rewrite that? I forget because originally I know the Avengers Disassembled where they do get reabsorbed.
Right.
And it's like you're like, oh
yeah, and then they make Wanda like forget about them, and then like that they. So and that's the whole thing with like Agatha Harkness,
right?
That she makes them forget, makes Wanda forget, or Wanda actually I think also wants to forget.
Yeah.
I think they just like they just pop back up. They're like two separate dudes, like living with like separate parents. Like one's like in New Jersey or something, one's like in Wisconsin or something.
Yeah.
And like everyone's in New Jersey. Like everyone just like if they need to pop somebody up, just pops up in New Jersey.
That's where people go when they want to be in hiding. That's witness protection area,
right?
Jersey, because no one wants to step foot in Jersey. So it's like it makes for the like an ideal.
Right.
The views expressed by Michael Dolce do
What's
not.
that?
do not represent.
Do not represent.
So
everybody
on
Rogue Man.
From our Wizard days, drove down to Wizard World, Philadelphia, with two of my friends and Jody from The Office. Remember Jody Westoff, who we love, and I haven't seen Jody in a long time, but Jody's from Jersey and she's Jersey proud. And my friends in the car, as we were driving through Jersey, just made nonstop Jersey jokes. And then Jody got out of the car. She's like, "What the F is up with your friends?" And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, because people from that state don't like when their state is being ripped apart. It's just weird. She's just strange that way.
Set it off though is we got like viciously cut off by a driver from Jersey, and then it was one of those like, well, we're in Jersey.
So everybody in the state deserved to be roasted after that, right? Because of that one guy.
Because that is the infamous Jersey driver syndrome. I mean, anybody who's driven through New Jersey. I mean, look, they don't have left turns. You have to go in circles to make. Yeah,
but they have free right turns. You know,
and they don't have merge lanes either. So like have you ever noticed if you've driven on Route 17?
How did we do this? How did we get here?
There's no merge.
Why are we talking about Jersey in the comic book show?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Victoria brought it up. This is the kind of insight that she brings to this.
I was talking about Speed and Wiccan, but
yeah, I completely had nothing to do with Jersey, but okay.
Let's get into the final scene. Again, spoilers if you haven't watched last
I'm glad I have someone here as a witness, by the way, of the
last week's episode.
Of how he rambles and then blames it on other people.
How I ramble.
Like,
I ramble. Okay.
You take the turnpike and then I'm like, where are we going?
Yeah. We're not here.
Solid information.
4 right turns and then you end up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to
I'm loving this. This is the greatest show we've ever done.
I'm not shaking my head at Victoria. I'm shaking my head at Hassan.
It's the greatest show we've ever done. This is my favorite.
It doesn't take much. All right. Final scene. If you guys haven't seen it.
Yeah, I know. You see how easy it comes to him? I know. He does it all the time. But all right.
Someone shows up at the door.
Yeah.
And it's, again, if you haven't seen it by now, I've given you an ample spoiler warning. See, Hassan,
or if you're from Jersey, F off. You know, if you haven't seen it yet, or if you're from
Jersey's
Jersey.
Cool. Just be careful when you get on the road there. That's all. Jersey driver. Pietro shows up, but not the Pietro from the MCU. We got the Pietro from the Fox Marvel, X-Men universe showing up. Evan Peters.
Yeah, the good one. The
good one.
Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the fun Quicksilver. Who? It's funny, right? Like I like the Evan Peters Quicksilver character, but the Pietro from the MCU is actually, I think, closer to the comic book version, right? He's a little more, prickly, I guess is the best word for it, right?
Yeah,
but he was in this weird tank top. I mean, excuse me, this weird muscle shirt for no reason, and
yeah,
there was a lot of.
He was buff. I think Victoria could tell you he had a reason for wearing that, right?
Yeah, but there was a lot of strange decisions made for that particular character, and then they got two people to do 2 different dialects of the Wakovian accent, even though they were brother and sister. So it just kind of came off really weird.
Which did you guys catch that in the last episode of WandaVision? That accent is back now all of a sudden. Like it popped up as soon as she left the bubble, so to speak.
Yes, even though she didn't have it since Age of Ultron.
Right.
It's a little strange.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess in times of stress.
It fades in and out. It's like a Madonna British accent and sort of like comes and goes.
Yeah. In times of stress and great, discomfort. That accent, she can't hide it anymore. Executive producer Jack Schaefer opened up about the Evan Peters shocking appearance with Marvel.com and shared how it all came to be. We love the idea of bringing him back.
We were like, what could we do to mess with people? Oh, I got it. And we're done.
Like we spent $70 billion on this. Maybe we should.
How convenient that we just happen to have another Quicksilver on a shelf over here. Why don't we just use that?
You say that though when they killed Pietro in MCU, you're like, oh yeah, well if they ever bring back, if they ever merge the two worlds, because even back then it was like 2015, there were rumors of a Fox deal.
The crossover.
So we kind of like, it was one of those like,
well, he got
I see what they did there.
Even in those movies, which I'm not a big fan of, he was showcased really well. Like his particular ability was showcased like in a way that made it cinematically interesting, right? And
that made it feel like a superpower, like something that actually was useful.
Exactly. It's something that you could do something with, something that you were enviable about, you know, as opposed to having Kick-Ass just, you know, show up and then disappear again and then insult someone in Wakovian, in bad Wakovian, which sounds like bad Russian, you know, accent, and then gets blown away and still has time to snark before he dies. It's it's very Whedon-esque.
So that is a Joss Whedon stock and trade, and he, whether you like his work or not, influenced like a bevy of writers, because that's all people do now is be very
yes
snarky.
It's like, wonderful. So many people do that now.
Victoria, you did a lot of prep work for this show. You had to rewatch X-Men Apocalypse. I don't know why.
I mean,
that was a lot. That was
but I didn't tell. Well, like
that's painful prep work.
That's not easy.
I rewatched Days of Futures Past and I rewatched Apocalypse. Yeah. I did fast forward through Days of Futures Past to only the Quicksilver scenes.
See, I like Days of Future Past.
Out of out of both movies, why that one? That was the better of the two.
Because I love Psylocke, and Psylocke was one of my X-Men faves. So I'm like, okay, more. You know what?
That was a compromise. That's well, yes. When she became Japanese, that was I'm suddenly Japanese now, even though I'm the sister of Captain Britain, but that's all right.
This is a random X-Men conversation because I don't, and we're doing like two right turns in Jersey on this, but
two right. But like make a New York. Go ahead.
Make a New York. But like in Days of Futures Past, they kind of did a retcon on some of Kitty Pryde is my favorite X-Men, and so like they did like a weird retcon on her powers, and okay, whatever. She was Star-Lord at one point. You can call her anything you want.
True.
But like. I didn't love the little like retconning of Kitty Pryde, so I'm just kind of skip. For that reason alone. Also, the bone claws are gross, you guys. They're gross. I don't want to watch that.
That's true.
Yeah, and there's Mango still hasn't explained how he got his adamantium claws back by the time of Logan, even though he lost them in the Wolverine. But
just assume it happens.
You just yes, of course. That's good writing.
It happened.
That's writing right there. That's how you write, right, Mike?
If you have a large gap of time, you can just assume it is a visual cue that there is a story to tell there.
That's writing 101. That's what they teach you.
Very painful.
Leave it all in the typewriter. That's what that was the first lesson in writing class. Don't explain anything. Well, the audience doesn't deserve it.
Here's what I did find interesting, bringing it back to the conversation. Here's what I did find. You're welcome.
See how this works? See, she's got the hang of this show.
I did find, because I did watch like Apocalypse and Days of Future Past, there was something interesting that I found about it. So they chose to bring Quicksilver back in this 1980s, Family Ties, Full House kind of show, because when we last see that Quicksilver, the Evan Peters Quicksilver, is in 1983.
Yeah.
In Apocalypse. And we know from WandaVision that this Wanda was born in 1989. And obviously there wasn't a Wanda in Apocalypse or Days of Future Past. Yeah. So it's interesting to me if like this is like, are they trying to solve this X-Men time problem of Quicksilver? Because part of the big also that I've been waiting for is the Magneto, tie-in storyline stuff.
Which they're not going to get to, because apparently that Wanda and Pietro are not children of Magneto.
Well,
because Ultron explains that they were experimented on,
right?
Because they weren't
enhanced, because they couldn't say mutants.
Well, you can rewrite, you can kind of retcon that a little bit though too, in that Ultron is he's an unreliable narrator, and they how come they were successcable?
But they agree with their past, though. It's not like he's the one who's manipulating. No,
I understand,
them.
But that doesn't mean that that they couldn't be his kids and the parents they thought they had. They were adopted. I mean, there's ways you can kind of work around.
You
call J.J. Abrams, have him come in, have him figure it out.
The MCU awakens.
He'll just
Rise
remake.
I'm wearing-
He'll just remake Civil War, and then you'll be upset all over again.
He'll remake it,
I
and
don't
then
think.
we'll get Ryan Johnson to fill in the blanks in the middle
Uh,
without
Be like,
actually
"Just
filling in the
kidding."
blanks.
Magneto is not their dad.
yeah,
He's
it's Palpatine.
Magneto is an example of toxic masculinity, according to Ryan Johnson. Can't do it. This is what Jack Schaefer said, though, right? So he's the
Always
actual
make it political.
the EP. How do we justify this? That's the thing. You can hatch a million great ideas, but to make them land, to make them be grounded, to make them feel organic to the larger story, this show is such a mind scramble. And because it's working on so many levels, there's so many notions of what's real and what's not, and performance and casting and audience and fandom and all that. We just thought it would be the biggest thrill to bring Evan over to the MCU. We thought, like, how do we give him this entrance and then enjoy that and then make it crazy? And we had long had the idea of the trope of the brother or the relative or whatever comes to town and like stirs things up with the family, that sitcom trope. We were rooting for it for so long and didn't know if it would be possible. This is the reaction by both Evan Peters and Kevin Feige. It was complicated to make happen. Evan was always up for it. Like always. He's a comic book fan and a Marvel fan. He's always up for the absolute weirdest option, and he's a pleasure to work with. Everyone was really excited. I think Kevin wanted to make sure there was a reason for it, that it made sense, and I hope that's what we did. That last line, I hope that's what we did, leads me to my next question for you guys.
I don't buy the genuineness of people who created the show saying that the show's a mind bender. You're not allowed to say that about your own product. Yeah, this is a roller coaster ride. We've done great work here. Like, no.
You don't like that.
Yeah, the fans will tell you whether or not you've done a great job. You don't like, hey,
Maybe he's reacting to the
people
fan
are going to
reaction,
be
which has been
people are going to be
positive.
blown away. Yeah. I will say I am impressed with the show, but also I'm also happy that it's getting the buzz that because a lot of people, even though the MCU had goodwill, a lot of people are like, no, I don't know about this. We're not gonna say we're looking forward to WandaVision because it's a weird show with a dumb name. That's literally what people were saying, and now they're like, you see holy crap all over the place. So it's that's pretty awesome. Our faith in them has been restored. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think I was at the San Diego Comic-Con when they were announcing that slate, that the next phase lineup, and they were they had the big presentation, they had a little timeline. There was WandaVision and Loki and all that kind of stuff. Just in that voice. That was a direct impression.
You can get up and leave right after that.
I thought you were.
Hello.
Time for me to go. They floated right out the door. Like, thanks, guys. I'll wait for it to come on Disney Plus.
Right, because you could hear the claps in Hall H of of
the recorded claps. Whoa.
No, this was a real
because it was
I know.
It was years ago, a couple years. It was 5 million years ago, since before pandemic times. And in the BC before
in the industry we call
coronavirus.
we call that pre-lockdown.
Pre-lockdown.
That's the parlance we use.
I like that.
I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
I like it. I think that's
go on with
all
your
the
show,
things you
man.
coined on the show. That's probably the one that has the most sticking power.
Stop it! I've coined so many more things than that. Just
I know,
keep
but
going.
that one.
Don't embarrass yourself. You're
that
embarrassing
one.
yourself.
I said you coined a lot of things. I said that was your best one though, and that actually has sticking power, as opposed to other things you've.
No, you're gonna keep going. All right.
Well, you could hear the response to all the different as they all popped up on the screen, and the response to WandaVision was probably lowest, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even Black Widow, because I was expecting there'd be just crickets when that happened. They're like, we're never gonna get a Black Widow, so why are you even talking about it?
Or she's dead, so why are you doing that now? Why did you wait till after you killed her off to give her a movie?
Yeah.
Nice.
But the response was pretty big for all of them because everyone's just hyped up to be in the room.
Sure.
But I felt like WandaVision was the lowest because no one really understood what it was about. It was a weird name, like Hassan said, which I agree with Hassan always.
We've established that off air.
Yeah.
Zang.
Off air. And
okay, I'll take my punches.
And so we didn't get it. No one understood what this was supposed to be.
Right.
So now that we get it, and now that the name makes complete sense, and it's multi-level, it's great.
It's also something that we can never, and this is in a good way, we can never trust Kevin Feige ever again, right? I mean, they give us something like WandaVision, and you just kind of, I mean, you're right. I mean, you gloss over it, especially like stacked together with all those other, monumental announcements, and even like the Eternals. No one knows anything about the Eternals, but you're like, wow, Angelina Jolie's in it, so that's huge. And Loki. Well, everyone loves Loki, so that's huge. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Oh my gosh, that's going to be great. WandaVision. But meanwhile, now WandaVision has done what we've been asking the question of for the last 2 years now, even longer. Again, 5 years ago when the rumors first started with the Fox and Marvel merger. WandaVision has now successfully answered the question of, maybe not fully, to Hassan's point of, answering questions, but it's the first sign of how they're going to merge the two universes together. And it happened in a sitcom, essentially, in a sitcom universe.
Well, it actually hasn't. It says that it answered the question of would they. It didn't answer the question of how they. So.
No, I know, but it starts to answer the question, right? It starts.
It promises that there will be a question and they may answer it. That's what it promises.
But Wanda is. I think it's answering that Wanda, which again, to folks like us who know comics, we can kind of understand this because we know Wanda's powers, at least in the comics, are so. She's on like the 10 scale of powers. Yeah. But for the MCU fans who aren't comic fans, or the the Disney Plus fans who aren't comic fans, it's answering the question. Oh crap! Wanda is capable of doing this. Wanda is capable of bringing someone from another universe into our universe.
But
it suggests she's capable. It doesn't answer the question that she is capable. Yeah, it suggests she is.
That's if we also assume that Wanda is the one and only person pulling strings.
Which I'm pretty sure as of this point she's not. No, even she's in the dark about a lot of things.
Agree.
I think so too. And I think
what a strange coincidence.
I'll leave the room now. I'll let you guys hang out for a little bit.
Please do.
No, we obviously we know that
see yourself out.
Well, at least you know what. Look, if I got to go on vacation, I know who my my fill-in host will be on on vacation whenever vacation.
Whenever that happens, right?
Yeah.
You never take vacations, so it's okay.
Well, we believe you.
Vacation will just be me in my closet with a bottle of Jack and just hanging out in the dark. Be really nice.
Don't reveal, man.
Pre-lockdown.
now they know where to find you.
Yes.
No. We all know Agnes is Agatha Harkness. I mean, again, comic book wise, we know this. Suggested in this episode, though, obviously, that she is. I don't want to say she's working with Wanda.
Safe is to say she's aware that something is up. That's all. She's aware that there's a game being played.
Yes.
And from what we've seen, she's not 100% sure if Wanda's in on it or not.
Right.
She thinks Wanda is controlling it just by their exchange of, do you want me to shoot the scene again?
Yeah.
So, that would suggest that either she's being seriously manipulative or she thinks that, someone else is pulling the strings and that Wanda's aware of it.
Yeah.
But like I said, no more questions were asked. No questions were really answered. But now we're just filling in the blanks. Now we're doing headcanon for the rest of it. So that's why I'm just cautioning us not doing headcanon.
But it was very much like a setup. And they set up not just the Quicksilver stuff, but they also are setting up Monica, and there was a lot of other like tie-in stuff I felt like they were bringing in to set us up for future things that will happen.
Yeah, because there's something up between Monica and Captain Marvel. Yeah, she's pissy about that for some reason, So
and her scans were blank, the blank scan.
Yeah, and she was uptight about it. Which, when you get a blank scan, you might be uptight about it. You might be upset.
Like, there's nothing in your head.
Yeah, we did a CAT scan and we don't know where your brain is. Oh. Can I leave now? You doctors have lost my brain.
I'm going to play a fun game before we wrap the segment up. We haven't done this in a long time, Hassan. Ready?
Only if the game is fun.
Love it or shove it. I'm gonna make some declarative sentences, and you're gonna tell me. I'm gonna go to both of you. We'll take turns.
You say that as if you're gonna break from tradition by making
I'm making
a declarative sentence.
statements, and you're going to tell me if
Right.
you love it or if you shove it.
Okay. This is pretty much our show.
Vision will remain dead when WandaVision is over. Victoria, love it or shove it?
Wait, can I get a clarification on the rules of the game?
Yeah, he never does that. He
I
just
just
throws you in the middle of the
wait,
game.
rules. You tell me if you
But does love it mean that I think
You
it will
agree.
happen or that I want it to happen?
agree or disagree. You're gonna love it or
disagree.
shove it. Okay.
Oh wait,
so
wait,
you're
he
gonna-
remains dead.
So you
Then
have
you
to
can
say
remain
shove
dead.
it.
When,
If
so
you
you're gonna say
disagree,
shove it.
you gotta say shove it.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Hassan, I'll
ask
start
your
with
question.
you.
Dumbest game
Ask the
ever.
question.
I will start with you. I will start with you, Hassan.
It's too late
Sure.
for this. I can't.
Vision will remain dead when WandaVision is over.
Ah,
okay,
I
I
love
got
it.
Shove it. We disagree.
Oh no. There goes the alliance.
Cracks in the armor showing now.
What do we do now?
It was a momentary thing you guys had.
You did that on purpose to break us up.
Oh.
Mephisto will make an appearance in the show. Love it or shove it, Victoria?
Shove it.
I'm not doing this on purpose. Shove it. I don't
Oh.
you know.
All right. Well,
But I
how
mean,
come?
I just don't think that you're gonna and I could be dead wrong. I could be dead wrong. I'm fine with it. But I just don't think Mephisto, you introduce a character like Mephisto as like an afterthought on the back end of your fledgling series, you know?
Yeah. And I think they're gonna bring in other I think Dottie, the ex Buffy girl, which we already discussed
Yes,
Buffy, so we're not gonna
Anya.
go there.
Yeah.
Yes. She's not on their little vision board of Pinterest board of people who they know about. So I think they know who she is. Her name is Dottie Jones. Her husband's name is Philip Jones. So we already know that she's a superhero. Spoiler.
What's the
said
name of the
beforehand.
guy? This is not Love or Shove It. I just for some reason don't have it in my notes. The name of the guy who is running Sword.
He's not
Gee, we don't
he's
care
not an
about-
actual comic book canon guy.
No, he's not. But I can't
He's
think
a
of his
guy-
name.
He's a guy who's still trying to find Vision's penis after 5 years.
He's antagonist because he's
Yeah.
nobody. So he's a expendable kind of guy.
So my Love It or Shove It
And
question.
he's like a
Love it.
generic white guy. So
My-
we're not
my
supposed
love
to
it-
like those
yes.
guys anymore. So
Yes, the Love It or Shove It the Love It or Shove It question. The head of Sword will be revealed as the big bad.
The big bad.
nah, shove it. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna do stuff with Sword, so I don't know if they're gonna darken that door just yet. You know, I'm sure there's something wrong with Sword that they're gonna reveal down the line, but I don't know if they're gonna do it just yet. But they might. There's a possibility, but I don't love that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gonna shove it also, Victoria?
Yeah, I agree. I think he might be a bad, but I think he's a minor bad.
Okay. And
Probably a
finally,
Skrull. Probably one of the jerky
God.
Skrulls.
I really hope he's a Skrull.
Yes. Now I want him to be a Skrull.
Really want him to be a Skrull.
done. You've now.
Now he's a
established-
Skrull.
You've
Hell yeah.
established
We control the
Headcanon.
MCU. We control.
Come,
Dear
just keep tuning
Kevin.
in. Final question. We have not seen the last of the twins after the series is over.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, 100% love it.
All right. There you have it. Do you love it or shove it? What do you guys think? Comment in the Facebook feed. We will write back to you. If you're listening to this on a podcast, go to facebook.com/Rogue Matter podcasts, and we will continually comment throughout the week as well. When we come back, we'll do some Rogue Rage. Joker's got a new look. We'll get our reaction when we come back.
Welcome to Button Stash, the show about the best mustaches in gaming.
Casey, it's Button Smash. It's the new gaming podcast from the Rogue Matter Network. I don't know where you got mustaches from.
Well, I'm not shaving. But we will talk about gaming news, reviews, inside scoops, and retrospectives.
Join us live on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, or download our episodes wherever you listen to your podcast.
But please, Casey, shave.
welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Just want to remind folks, we've got 1 day left. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday night, Thursday at noon, the Sire Volume 3 Kickstarter ends. We've already surpassed our goal. We've got through the first stretch goal, trying to lock down that second stretch goal of refrigerator magnets. People love the tchotchkes, man. They love the tchotchkes.
They get coal in the mail. You.
They love it. I don't know. Stickers. They love stickers. They're like stickers. Woo! I announced stickers. I got 10 new backers. It was crazy. And they like the tchotchkes. Go to SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter, or you can do a search on Kickstarter for Sire Volume 3, and you should find my project. It ends noon on Thursday. If you miss it, if you're listening to this after the fact and you missed the Kickstarter, you can go to SireStudiosInc.com and get some more information on where you can be a part of the next one. All right. We're talking WandaVision. We are going to shift over to some more MCU stuff. But first, this is the Rogue Rage, all the rage in the pop culture world. A little DC news to start this off a little bit. First look at Jared Leto's eerie Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League. We're showing some images on the screen right now. Very, very gothy, very glammy, very zombie. I don't know how else to really describe it. This is from Vanity Fair. What becomes of a prophet of mayhem in a world that has already fallen apart? This is the Joker as he appears in Zack Snyder's new Justice League, an entirely new element the filmmaker decided to add as he completed his original vision of the DC Comics team-up. Jared Leto's Clown Prince was not part of Snyder's original plan before walking away from the movie in 2017. But when HBO Max offered him the chance...
Since the Joker made $1 billion, they shoehorned him in to...
Well, let me continue a second. When HBO Max offered him the chance to finalize
pretty much
his own
what's going to
cut
come out to
of the movie, the director had a few things he wanted to add to the long-awaited Snyder cut.
Like $1 billion.
Joker is really the only thing I thought of in retrospect.
Like a
he tells
different
Vanity
movie.
Fair. But I will say that it was always my intention to bring Joker into that world. When he first began working at DC Films, Snyder thought he would eventually bring the villain in to conflict with Batman in a later project. But after a falling out with the studio, he realized that would never happen. The cool thing about the scene, talking about the scene in this movie, is Joker directly talking to Batman. It's Joker analyzing Batman. Snyder already had a history devised in his head. The scene explains why Bruce had the Joker card taped to his gun that you see in Batman v Superman, the director says of the 2016 film, hinting that the Joker murdered the Cape Crusader's sidekick by showing the absent Robin's armor spray painted with "haha, joke's on you, Batman." So, Hassan, you think this was just like the studio being like, "Hey, by the way, you want this movie to be made? We need Joker in here."
I'm not going to doubt him. I'm sure he has his, I'm sure he's got his creative integrity intact and whatever. I'm just saying,
You're saying it was an easier suggestion when he's like, "Hey, I want to put the Joker in this."
The studio's like the standalone Joker movie made $1 billion. Of course, they're going to put the Joker in everything.
Not the same Joker.
No, but I mean, studios don't know that. Studios don't know the difference. Right. They see this guy, he's in white makeup and he's got clown makeup and green hair. Done. Money in the bank. Sure. Money.
The one thing we noticed about this Joker though, no more tattoos. So it is the same Joker that appears in Suicide Squad.
He doesn't look like Tekashi 6ix9ine anymore.
But he also looks a little different. So Victoria, you were going to say?
Oh, he's Jared Leto's my second favorite Joker. So
behind
that's unique.
Heath Ledger. I mean, that's
okay.
All right,
I didn't even feel the need to say it.
Well, when you make a declarative statement like Jared Leto's my second favorite Joker, considering he's only
because
been on
the
screen
obvious
for like
choice
10 minutes
is Heath Ledger
because the Clown Prince is Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've already done that. I mean, they've got the Heath Ledger Joker confronts Batman. So I don't know how you top it.
No, you don't. You don't even try. That's how you top that. You stay away from it. But they don't know how to do that.
No.
They turned around and made a whole Joker movie after that. And now he's a hero. They turned Joker into a hero.
Where does Jack Nicholson and Joaquin Phoenix fall in your hierarchy of Jokers, Victoria?
My audio switched off for a minute, so I heard
it's very convenient.
none of what
very convenient. I would just stick with that. Stick with that line. Stick with that line. I don't know
wait
what
a
you're
minute,
talking
Hassan. You know, that one flew right over my head.
I'm doing that in the future. No, I can't hear you, Mike. I don't know what's going on.
worst co-host ever.
Wait, which joke?
You know
which
that
Joker?
guy, our fans who find us at Comic Cons are gonna be like, "This is the worst podcast I've ever heard." Co-host just keeps turning off. I don't understand.
Yeah,
I want them arguing. Damn it.
They'll all blame me.
I want them disagreeing.
He asked which
not
Joker
her.
is the
Agree with
best.
everything.
He asked where Jack Nicholson and
Joaquin Phoenix fall in
Joaquin
your
Phoenix fall
hierarchy.
in. And let's forget about Moynihan, who played Joker on in Gotham.
And,
Yeah,
and we don't get to count Mark Hamill either, or
no animated.
Yeah, animated. I would like to know.
okay.
'Cause Mark Hamill's pretty much a lot of people's favorite Joker. I don't know how you X him out.
Yeah, you really can't.
And
then
Kevin
actually-
While
While we're at it,
favorite Batman.
we're at it. Caesar Romero. Throw in Caesar Romero.
I would say you could throw in Caesar Romero.
Okay.
'cause-
Okay.
You got to
pretty-
throw
he was
in
pretty
Mark
dope.
Hamill's. You got to throw in Mark Hamill's Joker.
All
Or
right,
you're not a
rank
comic
him.
book
Let's do
guy.
it.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Give me your
I
ranks.
shamed you.
I see
You
then I
said
have to
it.
rearrange because I would say Heath Ledger first, and then Mark Hamill,
Okay.
and then Jared Leto, and then throw the rest in the trash. So
Whoa. Wow.
not Cesar Romero because he's classic, but he could be.
And he's
better.
got a mustache.
He's got a
that we painted over.
I always wondered about that when I was a kid because I used to
I
watch,
never noticed it when I was a kid. I'm very upset about that.
it was one of those things when I was
but
like
I
7 or 8
wasn't
years
looking at
old.
his hairy upper
No.
lip. So
But that's the
it
thing,
was-
though. Like that was one of those things when I was like 7 or 8 years old where I noticed it but didn't know what to make of it, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like just one of those things. I guess I'm just too young.
He
to
was a
understand.
star, and he's like, I'm not shaving this off.
Yeah.
Do something about it. That's
Yeah.
what to make of that.
Yeah. He's like, I need this
Yeah.
for my real acting.
And also, the Joker could just be weird enough to paint over his
Yeah, oh, yeah.
mustache. You know,
Yeah.
he could just
Absolutely.
be out there enough to do it.
Yeah.
So
I know people love the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and I love Joaquin Phoenix, and I like the movie. That's not what I think of as Joker. So when
Right.
I think of as like having, Joker, I like Joker a lot.
well, the
growing up,
Joker
so
was
that's
a
not
real
my Joker.
movie disguised as a comic book movie, according to
Yeah.
the director, the
Mhm.
jerk
Sure.
director, who made $1 billion off the fans and then told them their genre was
Just
trash.
kidding. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's
Yeah.
like that's the ultimate player right there, right? Like he's like, I'm gonna make money and then I'm gonna make fun of you, and then you're gonna come see Joker too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be like,
You knew.
no, yeah, all right, we're gonna go.
I'm
Then
probably
you
gonna
gotta do
go
that.
you gotta
because we're gonna have to cover that, and that's why I'm gonna have to go, because that's the only reason I went to see the last one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not calling out us. We're
Exempt for okay.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Sorry.
we're not we weren't directed. We're press ish media.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No Jack
Yeah,
Nicholson love,
Go
though?
with that.
Why no Jack Nicholson love?
Jack Nicholson was playing Jack Nicholson with white
Yeah.
makeup on.
Yeah.
I liked him at the time, and then I saw Heath Ledger, and I was like,
The synergy of Jack Nicholson in makeup, though, is very Joker-esque. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where the personality it was a great casting. It kind of, I think it fit the.
At the time, it was really great casting, but it was a stunt cast.
Yeah. Oh,
It was like, we'll just put him in makeup.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do anything else. We'll give him some good snazzy lines,
Yeah.
and we don't really have to do anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Mark Hamill's Joker was like, oh, that's the Joker from the comic books, you know?
Yes.
And that's the way the Joker is supposed to be. So then Heath Ledger doing his own take on it was, and I don't really like that movie, as you know. We've had that discussion a thousand
Yes.
times, but that's still my favorite Joker.
Dark Knight.
yes,
Yeah.
he's not a fan of the
I'm a
Dark
fan of
Knight
Dark Knight.
as a movie,
Really.
but he
That's
does
okay.
love the Heath Ledger Joker.
I like Batman to be Batman and save people, and he does this. For some reason, we were in that era where Superman and Batman didn't save anyone in their respective movies. It's a weird time we were in the mid 2000s, and so
Yeah. I think, anytime someone's like has the word gritty in conjunction with that, I'm kind of out already.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
yeah.
That's a good like studio term, right? We need
Everybody's
gritty.
everybody's
It's
version of gritty,
and then it's
is
gritty and it doesn't do as well, and they're like, we need to be
His wife-
funny. Don't you
wife-
understand? It's got to be funny.
wife and girlfriend die. That's what gritty is
like, look
in
at Deadpool.
Hollywood terms. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just try to be Deadpool.
blow his
Okay.
girlfriend up, and we'll say his wife got killed, or he smothers his mom with a pillow. Okay, There you go. That's gritty. And has a really
Shifting
creepy
over.
scene with young Bruce Wayne at his manor house. That movie.
Segue,
oh my
yeah.
God.
Usually he's much better at the segues here. Tom Holland.
Oh, that's not mine.
Ooh, yeah,
would
let's
have changed it.
Tom
Tom
Holland
Holland.
denies Andrew
I'm ready.
Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in Spider-Man 3.
How
From
dare he?
Heroic Hollywood. During a recent interview for his upcoming Apple TV Plus film Cherry, Esquire asked Tom Holland about the recent Spider-Man 3 rumors, and here's what he said. No, they will not be appearing in this film unless they have hidden the most massive piece of information from me, which I think is too big of a secret for them to keep from me. But as of yet, no. It'll be a continuation of the Spider-Man movies that we've been making. This is... You ever read between the lines with some folks when they're like, well, it's obviously not going to happen, so I'm not really sure, but anything is possible. Like they'll throw in that one extra line to kind of cover themselves. This is a pretty big declaration to have said, right? I mean, it's not something that I feel like he didn't give himself an out here for when it actually happens.
Proof in point that that all of the speculation media or journalism is BS is because he's going to say something like that. It's going to be definitive. It's going to sound definitive, and everyone's going to say, "Yeah, he's lying." We made up this rumor. This is, it as a scenario. I'm not saying that this is what happened. We made up this rumor that everybody from the previous Spider-Man movies are going to be in Spider-Man. And then the star of the film comes out and says, no, because I'm making it and I can see that they're not in it. Right. And so all of us are like, but he's lying to us.
Well, I don't know why.
Go ahead,
Victoria.
I don't know why they would put them. I don't know why they would put them in. I'm not sure.
I
don't know why they would keep that secret
and doing all that stuff, but also just for the sake of why would Tobey Maguire be like, yes, I'm going to reprise my Spider-Man role for this time.
I'll be the third wheel Spider-Man in my own.
I'll
movie.
be third wheels in my it doesn't, to me, that doesn't make a lot of it sounds like fan fun, but it doesn't make a lot of studio sense to me.
And why would they keep that secret so poorly? That's one of the most poor kept secrets ever.
Well, I mean, Jamie Foxx already basically was like, "Yes, I'm in it. I'm here. I'm Electro." So, meanwhile,
those are villains, and he's not Spider-Man. So
No,
he's and Maguire's. I mean, Holland didn't say that Electro wasn't in it.
Right.
He just said Tobey Maguire and Garfield were not in it.
Right.
You've got Alfred Molina. I think that's been pretty.
He didn't say
confirmed.
Molina's not in it.
I understand that, but I mean, at the same time, there is that by association, guilt by association, having.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Films.
That's headcanon. That's journalistic headcanon, because nobody said that these guys were in it. Nobody official said those guys are in it. Especially Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who never said that, yes, we are in the film. You could probably believe Jamie Foxx unless him saying that got him fired, in which case he won't be.
Well, but that's the thing, right? But, I guess for him to make such declarative statements, I guess if he doesn't make a declarative statement, look, at the end of the day, he's lying on behalf of the studio, on behalf of Kevin Feige, on behalf of the director, on behalf of, the nature of trying to make sure people are surprised by it. So it's not like it's a crime that what he's doing. And people are going to be like, well, I can never trust Tom Holland ever again. They'll understand if he didn't come out. It was very definitive. Perhaps.
Do you think?
In the way he answered it, to the point where it's like, no, they will not be appearing in this film. So maybe it's Doctor Strange. I don't know, but
do you think that perhaps it's because he was trying to promote a different film, and they're like Spider-Man, and he's like, you, it's this film that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Shut up and talk Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
I'm talking about this other disaster I'm making.
He's like, no, they're not in it. I want to talk about my film. Was it that?
He really stretches an
hey,
actor
calm down, Tom. Take it easy, Tom.
I think it's a
backflip. He spins around.
I think we've just declared that we hate Tom Holland now, and I think
no, I never said that.
He's all right in my book.
I would never.
All right, and finally, the Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer breaks Super Bowl record. One of the biggest questions fans had coming out of Avengers Endgame was when they'd see Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson wield the shield in a new Captain America movie and Avengers
the shield
adventure.
That's a euphemism.
Or a new project altogether. Thankfully, audiences won't have to wait much longer since Falcon and Winter Soldier will debut.
Are wielding the shield in a month.
I didn't write this. The anticipation is so high that the Super Bowl TV spot and the new trailer broke an impressive record. The record was viewed 125 million times within 24 hours, which is a new record.
It was a good trailer. It was a really good trailer. I'll say.
Where do you rank this in the Falcon and Winter? So it's the best trailer, best TV trailer of all time. Where you got this?
No.
What is the best TV trailer of all time?
You can't calculate. TV? What? Oh.
Like what gets you the most
always
excited?
The best. Is this the best chicken noodle soup you've ever eaten of all time? Like, why does it always come down to that?
We deal in absolutes. We're binary. We're zeros and ones.
Is this the best pudding you ever had?
Some people would say only a Sith. I'm kidding.
Yes. Yes. I've said that many a times. But he's a prequel hater, so he doesn't get it. So
I can't be a Sith.
Oh, boy.
I mean, look at Hassan.
Anybody can be a Sith.
He's very angry all the time.
I'm actually not. I'm laughing at you most of the time.
And that makes me angry.
That's
and
you
so I project anger onto you.
Yes.
Look how he has controlled his emotions.
I guess I am a Sith, actually, now that I thought about it.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. I mean, they can move stuff. They can choke people.
They can move
stuff. Pretty good. I don't know. I'm down.
I can move things.
If that's the case.
I got a broom. I can move things.
Do we think Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to...
You didn't even give me a compare to. Like, is it the best TV trailer compared to something? Like, can you put it up against something? Like,
I was going to say put it up against WandaVision and Mandalorian. Is the best Disney Plus trailer you've seen?
No. Well, the Mandalorian was a great trailer, but that is analogous to the time when we got it. We had not gotten any new content for months, and then suddenly there was a tease of brand new content and brand new stuff. And then also, since it retroactively, in my opinion, and only in my opinion, that was a great season of Mandalorian. So retroactively, it was a great trailer to a great season. You know, so that was a different experience. I think the Winter Soldier, I think that trailer looks fantastic. It's making me want to watch it, but I was already going to watch it, so it just made me want to watch it more.
Victoria?
Yeah, I think I it's a good trailer. I was thinking of like trailers that I really made me really want to watch a thing. And I actually feel like the one that I made me want to watch the most was the season 2 trailer for Westworld, because I had loved season 1 so much. When I saw season 2 trailer for Westworld, I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this now.
Then what was your reaction after watching season 2? What was your reaction after watching season 2?
I didn't watch season 3, so if that tells you
I have
what happened.
I have the season finale of season 3 on my DVR that I am like hate keeping. Like I'm like it's like a spiteful thing. Like I know I have to watch it, or I should watch it because I watched the first 7 episodes of garbage, and then, but now it's almost like just pinned there because I'm a Sith.
And it's getting a 4th season because it deserves it. It deserves a 4th season.
There was just a lot they could have done in the parks, and they introduced anyway, this is a different conversation. You can bring me on for when Westworld comes back again, but the season 1 Westworld is maybe one of my favorite seasons of television of all time.
It's very intricate, but I mean the problem with season 1 is season 1 has a definitive ending.
Yeah,
season 1 has an ending, you know, and then so like every season 2 was like a tack on, or felt like a tack on. And they didn't know what they wanted to do with it. And they were like, well, let's recreate season 1 by shuffling the timeline around. And it just, all it did was piss everybody off.
Yeah.
But there's shows that can do that. There's shows that do that well. I mean, like Stranger Things was a 1 season, and they did a great job on subsequent seasons, I thought.
Yes. But they told a brand new story every season.
Right.
As opposed to Westworld telling the same story again.
Yeah.
With some rift in the middle of the park where all of the... and
it's funny too because season 1 of Westworld had the most logical. jump off point too, which you mentioned, Victoria, was like, oh, now we get to explore the other parks. And they decided, they're like, no, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna go
like,
outside.
We're like, we'll go through one park for no reason. And instead of actually, kind of utilizing what had already been in the movie, and what they had already set up in season 1, they just like, no, we're going to go in a different direction. Trust us, it's going to work. And then they're like, oh, well, trust us in season 3 now. We're going to go in a completely different direction. It's going to work.
It's very hard to do man versus machine without getting tropey. It's very hard to be unique about doing man versus machine. The first season of Westworld was done well, right? Mm-hmm. Then it just started becoming Terminator, and then just, you got hosts running around taking bullets and throwing people around and killing. It's like, all right, it's cool to see Maeve, be kick ass in every scene that she's in, but it's like, well, okay, is she the hero of the show? What are we doing? Where's the human element? What's so
they made her out to be the hero, but they didn't define what is good and what is bad.
They didn't define what a hero was in that world, other than saving. She wanted to save her son. Yeah, and then halfway through season 2, she's like, "Oh,
I got to stop.
My son wasn't real."
Evan Rachel Wood for some reason.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm not sure why. Like, you guys are both robots. You're both tormented.
The studio's telling me I have to go stop Evan Rachel Wood. Yeah. So
join us for our Westworld podcast.
I was gonna say, what's helpful
it.
about Westworld and why Westworld works so well is because you knew all of those robots had penises. So the question wasn't even there.
That's true.
You didn't have to ask the question.
That's what I call a stud guest. She brings it full circle. Start to finish. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us on the Rogue Wave
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Tell everyone where they can, what do you got going on these days, and where they can see your work and read your work and view your work and all that fun stuff.
In these pandemic times, you can find me on Twitter at Victoria E. Rau. And you can find some of my books wherever comic books are sold.
She's an awesome writer. Go check
I don't know where they are sold. Will you tell me where they are?
Where do they sell comic books in pandemic time?
Potentially the internet.
The internet.
Yes, find my books on the internet.
Go Google Victoria and Zenoscope, and you'll find a bunch of titles she's worked on, which is great. And we've got potentially some good stuff coming through Rogue Matter as well. All right, when we come back, Hassan and I welcome Jiba Anderson for our Rogue Spotlight. He's got a Kickstarter going on right now for Rogue Matter called The Court, Ballad of Finch. But he's also been a comic book creator for 20 plus years, highly decorated, and we look forward to talking to him when we.
He's got the comic book Medal of Honor.
He does, right? Comic Medal of Honor.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, can't go wrong with that.
No.
You'll find out what that means when we return. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Happy to be joined by Jiba Anderson. How you doing, sir?
Good. I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Now, Jiba is one of the stable of Rogue creators doing stuff with Rogue Matter. We've got a Kickstarter out right now for his latest, which is an illustrated novel called The Court, The Ballad of Finch. A basketball player finds mysterious strangers to help overcome his injuries and soon learns to escape the court. He must pay the price. So Kickstarter is going on right now. You can look it up on Kickstarter.com. You can go to, we'll put the link up on the screen there so you guys can check it out. Jiba, talk to us about The Court. I'm a big basketball fan, so this was really a pleasure to take a look at in terms of projects being announced. Talk to us. What was the inspiration behind The Court, and give our audience a little taste of what what they can expect from it.
Well, you know what? Actually, the inspiration for The Court was me doing something completely different from what I usually do. Usually, as a comic book creator, I'm dealing more in the realm of Afrofuturism. I'm dealing in science fiction.
Yeah.
I'm dealing in like real cosmic, meets political kind of fantasy worlds. And so I wanted to do something that was a lot closer to home, a lot more mundane, not in the sense that basketball is a mundane subject, but, you know, in terms of like some real world type of stories. And I wanted to do something concerning the Black family, you know, just in terms of like, you know, not this whole notion of like, we don't have enough stories of the Black family, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But more so, it is radical to tell a story about Black folk and not have it be about the struggle. And so that's what I wanted to do, you know, with the courts. I mean, of course, you know, everybody loves basketball. Everybody loves a good basketball story. But for me, the story was more about the relationship between the father and the son. Yeah. Especially what, you know, kind of what happens when a son kind of grows up, you know, idolizing his father. His father is his superhero. Yeah. And, you know, what happens when, you know, you see the superhero's kryptonite. You know, you see the superhero being weak, right? Yeah. And how, as a child, you know, that affects you, right? Especially if, you know, you're following in your parents' footsteps, so on and so forth. And so when I was writing the story and thinking about the story, I was actually thinking about the relationship with my father, because, you know, my father is my superhero. Yeah. Right. And in some respects, I'm following in his footsteps in the creative realm. He's an architect. I'm a, you know, graphic novelist, illustrator, designer. Sure. Right? You know what I mean? So it's funny in some ways, and my pops told me this. It's like in some ways I'm living aspects of his dream. You know, even though his dream was to be an architect, you know, he did mention like years ago that as an architect, he had dreams of like writing action adventure novels and things of that nature that just didn't, you know, come to fore. And he wasn't, you know, bitter about it like Chauncey was, but, you know, it's a situation like, yeah, what would have happened if I did that? And for me, it's like, yeah, Dad, I'm living kind of that aspect of your fantasy. And with my father and I, he loves that. You know what I mean? He loves the fact that I'm doing comics. I mean, he got me into comics and things of that nature. So he loves the fact that his son is out there doing his thing, making his mark. By the way, he was super excited for the court to come out. It's like, you know, when I was talking about the Kickstarter and stuff like that, he's like, I don't have time to wait for no Kickstarter. I want my book now. I want to read this now. So, you know what I mean? So my relationship my relationship with my father is different from Jarius and Chauncey, but that same sort of adoration, that same love, also that same idea of, you know, going from being a boy to becoming a man, right? And beginning to step out of your parents' shadow, right? To define your own self. But at the same time, because, you know, the child and the parent have the same love for the same thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, there's that little bit of tension there. And so that's what I wanted to explore in this story about the Black family, in particular, this story about Black men. You know what I mean? And how we relate to each other, you know, and how fathers and sons relate to each other. So with the court, it's, you know, yes, it's about a Black family, but the story is a universal one.
No, I love it. There's so much to jump off of from what you just said. The first, we'll do it in chronological order. Being able to go out and do the kind of work you want to do, you know, like you said, your father had kind of wished he had gotten these stories out, and we hear so many. Hassan and I are both creators as well too. Hassan's an amazing artist. I dabble in art, but you know, he's also a great writer. I dabble in art, and I'm also a writer myself. You know, we hear at conventions, we hear from fans. So many people always say, like, "Oh, well, yeah, I would love to publish my own comic, or I'd love to write my own book." And you know, what was the deciding moment where you were saying, "No, I'm gonna stop using the word I would love to, and actually do it, and actually pursue this as career"?
The deciding moment was actually in '97 at the Motor City Comic Con.
I love Motor City.
Yeah, I'm a Detroiter, born and bred.
Okay,
so I'm actually from Detroit, now live in Chicago. But anyway, during that convention, I had just got done doing an independent book with somebody else, with someone who's a really, really good friend of mine now, Lamorris Richmond. But anyway, I got done doing his book, and I was shopping it around, and I was showing pages and things of that nature. And I, you know, said to myself, yeah, I'm ready for the big time, right? And I actually ran into Steve Rude. And Steve Rude, of Nexus, and Steve Rude is one of my artistic heroes. And so I showed him my portfolio at the time, and he looked at it, and you know, he said to me, he's like, you know what? In 5 years, you'll probably be one of the guys that I'm looking at, right? And at that moment, you know, getting a cosign from Rude and stuff like that. And this was what, 96, I think, something like that. So, you know, the big swell of indie comics, you know, rising. Of course, you had, you know, the Black comics movement rising. Back then it was the Black Age. You had Tribe out there. You had Brother Man. Of course, Milestone Media, you know what I mean? Which I call my holy trinity, you know? In terms of Black comics. So it was a situation of, I'm there with a couple friends of mine, and I'm like, you know what? Screw waiting to be discovered by DC or Marvel. I'm going to go ahead and discover myself. And the underlying thought from then to starting my company, Griot Enterprises, to launching my book, The Horseman, was all about the only person that is going to derail me from making my dreams come true is myself. So I have to get out of my own way. I have to get out of my feelings of doubt, you know what I mean? My questions of adequacy, whatnot, and I just got to do it. And I also had the mentality of, you know, being not only a comic book fan, but also being an historian, and also being like, you know, because I went to fancy colleges like University of Michigan and School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I studied art. And I studied comics like I studied art, and, you know, creators' careers. And so when I thought about a John Byrne, for example, you know, I'm like, X-Men John Byrne was vastly different from Iron Fist John Byrne.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Iron Fist John Byrne was kind of whack, you know, and Iron Fist John Byrne had to go through it to become X-Men John Byrne, right?
Right.
Same thing with like George Perez, like White Tiger George Perez. He was young, he was fresh, you know, coming out. By the time we get to Teen Titans George Perez, and then we get to Crisis on Infinite Earths George Perez, you know, you see that leap, right? And you see that evolution. So for me as a creator, I had to stop worrying about being perfect from the jump and just jump. And as I kept jumping and kept moving, I knew that I was going to get better. I knew that I was going to evolve as a creator, not only as an artist, but as a writer and as a designer, that sort of thing. So that, you know what I mean?
No, it's always great. Yeah. I mean, it's always great when you hear the moment where people decide, because, you know, actually take ownership and say, you know what, and regardless of whether it's, working for Marvel or DC or starting your own company or doing your own thing, there is a moment where you sit there and say, I don't want to do what, I don't want the life that everyone else, has. I want to go a different path. So.
Right. And it's definitely a decision.
Yeah.
It's definitely a choice. Being in this game is a choice.
San, you wanted to chime in with something?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying about wanting to do a story that's a little bit different than the standard narrative of African American comic books, African American characters, man, I know it. I understand exactly what you're talking about. But my question is, what exactly? Well, I don't know if I'm not putting you on the spot, but what exactly do you want from the medium of comic books in and of itself? There's infinite possibilities with it, and you're already coming to it with an attitude or a desire to do something or see something completely different than what you've been seeing before, and not to put anything that came before us down, but obviously you're looking to add something new to the conversation. So what exactly, if anything, do you want out of the medium? Do you want to try to accomplish out of all this?
Okay. That's an interesting question, because what I want out of the medium has changed since I've gotten in. In the beginning, when I started Griot Enterprises, I wanted what I believe every artist wants. They want the accolades. They want to be the hot thing. You know what I mean? They want to be the next top creator, right? It seems we're all of age. We all remember Wizard Magazine.
Oh yeah, we were there.
We all remember the top 10 artists and the top 10 writers.
So some of us remember Wizard more than others.
We both actually came from Wizard. We worked.
Yeah,
at
we're
Wizard.
both ex-employees of Wizard. Yeah,
y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. So
yeah.
So when I say this, you know what I'm gonna say. So at a certain point, when I figured out the top 10 artists and the top 10 writers didn't change, for a few months, I'm like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? But initially what I wanted to do when I started is I wanted to create comics, which I did when I got into the game. And then for a while, I wanted that recognition. I didn't think that I was going to be, I didn't think anybody cared. I didn't think anybody knew who I was until 2005, and I was at San Diego, and I was actually working on another project with some of the Rogue Matter cats. And I was promoting, I was coming back into the game. This was just the beginning of print on demand, so on and so forth. And I, did some postcards, some promotional stuff, featuring the Horsemen and whatnot. And then I ran into Dwayne McDuffie, the late great of the God, Dwayne McDuffie, right?
Yeah.
Milestone Media, Holy Trinity, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And when I ran into him, I did the fan thing first. I was like, and this is how it went. I was like, Mr. McDuffie, first of all, fan moment, big fan, been a fan since Milestone Media. You killing it on Justice League Unlimited, greatest cartoon ever. All right, fan stuff out the way. I'm also a comic book creator. I have my own company, and I just want you to take a look at the website, see what you think. And I handed him a postcard and it had the Horsemen on it. And Dwayne looks at the postcard and he's like, the Horsemen? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, man.
And he's like, Griot Enterprises? He's like, that's you? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, I love that book. I wonder what happened to it. I was a big fan of that book. That book is awesome. And I wonder what happened to it. And that's put me on the second road, you know what I mean, of the dream. Yeah. Because when you have, Dwayne McDuffie inspired a generation of comic book creators, right?
Yes.
And when you have somebody like that being a fan of your stuff, when you've been a fan of, you know what I mean? of
Yeah.
of their work.
Wow.
Like yeah, you couldn't tell me nothing. And then on top of that weekend when I was promoting the other project I was doing, you know, with the Rogue Matter crew, and dudes were coming up to the booth and they saw the cartoon. They're like, yo, the Horseman, the creator of the Horseman, yo, the dude is right. Yo, come back. This is the Horseman dude, right? So in terms of acknowledgement, you know what I mean? That goal was achieved
Okay.
in 05. But then, you know, I still felt like I was a new cat, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, you got all these other cats out there. You got dudes like Sanford Green out there. You got Kari Randolph and Jamal Igle and, you know, and all these other dope ass, you know, black comic book creators. Hate them all. I'm kidding. They're all friends. You know what I mean?
I say it all the time. Don't worry about it.
You're right. They're all friends of mine. So the next stage was sort of, okay, creating community.
Yeah.
Right? Creating a community of Black creators and stuff like that, and beginning to seek cats out. And then John Jennings and Damian Duffy reached out to me to be a part of this mythical tome called Black Comics, where this was the book where John and Damian got a bunch of, you know, cats together and created this art book that featured us. So now I'm a part of a community, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And still there's this whole acknowledgement thing in there, you know, accolades and things of that nature. But being a part of that community, being in that book, and then also being an educator, what happened was that I eventually carved out a niche. And in 2019, when I received the Glyph Award for, you know, a pioneer in Black comics from the East Coast Black Age of Comics Convention.
Yeah.
When I got that award, I was like, what? So what? I'm a legend now? Like, I'm a pioneer now? Like, I'm not even 50 yet. Like, so you give that to, like, you know, you give that to cats like George Harriman, or you give that to somebody like Brian Stelfreeze, or, you know what I mean, or Christopher Priest. But I got that. And so now, for me, what I want out of comics, because comics has given me, you know what I mean, these aspects so far, is now I'm in the mode of legacy building.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the mode of, you know, beginning to take my properties and bringing them into other media. I mean, it's like in the past year, you know, I've done, you know, like free product placement basically, because like the artwork from the Horsemen and the logos have been in shows like Utopia. I just did a licensing deal for, you know, for some artwork in an upcoming movie with Marshala Ali.
That's great.
And, you know, and I'm in the process right now of putting together proof of concept for the Horseman animated series, which has been something that people have been approaching me for years, but now it's at the point where stuff is actually happening. So, you know, so in terms of what do I want out of comics, it's more like, you know, what else is comics going to give me? And I'm going to, you know, take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fair.
No, that makes
fair.
sense. So one last question that I had for you, especially with the court being an illustrated novel, how do you approach that versus comic books? Because it's a visual, it's visual, but it's because it's an illustrated novel, but it's also it's different. I mean, you know, it's
literary.
Yeah, I mean, people always confuse. Well, if I can write a novel, I can do comics, or if I can write a screenplay, I can do comics. And it's like, no. It's in and of itself. So how did this vary for you?
Okay, so yeah, because they're all different muscles, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of approaching this illustrated novel, what I referenced or what I was reminded of is like, you know, pulp novels, pulp fiction. You think of Robert E. Howard, Edgar Rice Burroughs. You know, shoot, I'll even throw Michael Moorcock in there later on and stuff like that. But you know, when you read like a Conan novel or Elric of Melniboné or you know Tarzan or John Carter and things of that nature, you have this colorful prose which, you know what I mean, sort of forms the image in your head.
Yeah.
Right.
Then, you know, you take the illustration and you capture a moment, right? As opposed to comics where comics are a series of snapshot moments coming together to create a visual narrative. You know,
Right.
with an illustrated novel, you have there's even more of that separation of image and text. You know what I mean? Whereas with comics, there's a synergy behind that. With the illustrated novel, there's that separation. So, you know, the separation is all about, okay, I'm describing all of this in text.
Yeah.
What's the moment that I can take to illustrate, to punctuate, right? What is going on in the text before? Like, so the illustration is basically, it drives home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What the text does, and purposely with the court, especially the way that I illustrated it, is that, you know, I wanted to make sure that even though we have those moments punctuated visually, that unlike comics where a character is illustrated and you know who that character is, so on and so forth, with the court, it's a little bit more amorphous, right? We don't necessarily see the faces of the characters. So it allows the reader to still step in Jarius's shoes or Chauncey's shoes or Space's shoes, so to speak.
Last question. There's a comic book Hall of Fame. You're in it. What is your what's the hat you're wearing, so to speak, using the baseball analogy? Like, what is it that people will know? Like, they'll go up to you and say, "Oh yeah, it's Jiba. He's the guy from."
Oh, what are they gonna know me for?
Yeah.
They're probably gonna know me for two things. Number one, they're gonna know me for the Horseman.
Yeah.
Flat out, you know. Number two, they're going to know me for my anthology series, 4 pages, 16 bars, a visual mixtape, which ironically I'm launching a Kickstarter for next week. But in terms of legacy building, right?
Yeah.
This anthology is all about a collection of where the true diversity of comics lies. So it's you know, creators of color doing their independent work, right? So previous volumes, I've had Sanford Green in it. I've had Kari Randolph in it. This upcoming volume for volume 6, Jamal Igle is in it. You know, at the same time, I've got, you know, illustrators like Sheba Maya and Amber Denise Peoples in there. And then also for this volume, it's like I'm expanding the notion of, you know, it's always been multicultural, but now we have like some Latino creators up in this mix, like Javier Winnick Cruz, or Javier Cruz Winnick, excuse me, Crystal Gonzalez, Albert Morales, you know, that sort of thing. So that's really fun. And I think those are the things that people are going to know me for.
Awesome.
Those are good things.
Yeah, I think so.
Those are really good things.
Real quick follow-up. What is it you want them to know you for?
That's a good question.
That was the setup. The setup is, what do you think they're going to know you for?
Right.
Really?
So here's the artist ego. This is where the artist ego comes to the play, right? So, you know, I'm on Facebook and stuff like that, you know, and everybody's like, you know, who's your favorite artist? And you know, like so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And, you know, my name doesn't come up. What's interesting is that I think my name doesn't come up because I'm so much more than an artist.
Yeah.
I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a designer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm an educator, right? And so I feel that people know me best as a creator, because there's some cats that like
Right.
don't know that I draw. They're like, oh, I just thought you were a dope writer. No, I draw that too. You know what I mean? There's some
Yeah.
people who like me, some people outside of the comic book realm,
Right.
right? You know, when we get into the collegiate sphere, you know what I mean, the academics and stuff like that, or even fans and stuff like that, they're like, oh, the art is so dope. Oh my God, this is so
Mhm.
great. And you know, I bring all of those aspects together. So at the end of the day, I think that people are going to know me, or I'm going to be remembered as someone, as a creator, kinda, but more so someone who has moved the needle, right? And in terms of legacy, you know, hopefully, like, I'm carrying on the tradition of George Harriman, of Matt Baker, of Jackie Orms, you know what I mean? Of the Invisible Men in the book that just
Yeah.
came out, right? Of cats like Tertello Lee,
Mhm.
of like Todd Johnson and Larry Stroman and the Milestone Fellas, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And the Sims brothers, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know, I want to be recognized as being a part of that tradition, of
Amazing.
those cats who moved the needle and
Yeah.
pushed the medium forward.
I love it. I love it. You guys can check out The Court right now. It's on Kickstarter. Again, just go to Kickstarter, Google or type in the search The Court, The Ballad of Finch. Jiba, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and we wish the Kickstarter the best of luck. There's 1 week to go, and looking forward to more stuff coming from you through Rogue Matter and beyond as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it, guys.
When we come back, we will put a bow on tonight's episode. Jam-packed show tonight, Hassan. I don't know how we're going to top it, but want to thank our guests, Jiba and Victoria, for joining us. Go check out Jiba's Kickstarter. Again, go to the Rogue Matter Kickstarter page or type in The Court Ballad of Finch, and you can get to it. Victoria is awesome. Check out some stuff coming from her through Rogue Matter in the coming months. Next week, we reward our super fan, Matt Garnett. He was a super backer of our Time Trader Kickstarter that was through Rogue Matter. We're going to have him on next week. He has got an amazing, incredible story. He's overcome a lot to be where he is today. He's actually a good friend of mine. And we'll be talking what else? WandaVision, comics, all the stuff that you love. We'll see you guys next week.
Rogue Wave.